It began on a quiet night in 1903 in Van Meter, Iowa, a small farming town of barely 1,000 people. Ulysses G. Griffith, a respected local implement dealer, drove into town at around 1 a.m. when he saw something highly unusual. A bright spotlight-like glow perched atop the Mather and Gregg building. When Griffith approached, the light didn't belong to any lantern or lamp he'd seen before. Instead, it leapt across the street like a living thing. He grabbed a shotgun and ran to the building where he encountered what he described as a monster, half human and half beast with great bat-like wings. The light from a blunt horn on the creature's forehead was blinding, and the monster gave off a stupefying odor that assaulted his senses. This was the first time a resident of Van Meter encountered this creature, but it would not be the last sighting of what would come to be called the Van Meter Visitor. On the next night, Dr. O.W. White saw the visitor perched on a telephone pole, describing not just wings but bat-like leathery membranes in an unnatural stance that was neither bird nor typical mammal. The creature descended the pole using its beak and then traveled away in huge leaps, using its wings to assist. Peter Dunn, a local bank cashier, reported seeing the creature up close and even made a plaster cast of its tracks, enormous three-toed impressions in the dirt that measured far larger than any known bird or animal. People often described a horrifying stench that hung in the air whenever the creature roamed, a detail often glossed over but one repeated in multiple newspaper reports at the time. As night 3 and 4 passed, the town's fear escalated. Townsmen armed themselves with rifles and shotguns. But every time they fired, it seemed to make no difference. Bullets did nothing. The visitor seemed either impervious or absent at the moment of fire, disappearing into the night with an eerie speed that defied known animals. Then the hunt took a dramatic turn. Out on the edge of town was an abandoned coal mine, a relic of the region's industrial past. Strange noises began coming from within, noises that some described as like hundreds of bats in furious flight, or worse, like voices echoing from the underground. One man described it as Satan and his imps preparing for battle. Led by fear and curiosity, the men approached, and then they saw it. Not one, but two creatures, a larger one and a smaller companion. Both spread their vast wings and retreated into the shaft of the mine as if they belonged there. No one saw them again, though reports of lights, sounds, and unsettling experiences near the mine would linger around town for decades. What makes the Van Meter Visitor unique among early cryptid reports is that it wasn't just visual, it was sensory in other ways. Witnesses described a foul, almost suffocating odor that accompanied the creature wherever it went. The smell was compared to sulfur or death itself, an observation so disturbing that some historians note how it colored witnesses' emotional memory. The creature also left footprints as physical evidence. Then there was a light from the horn itself. Many researchers and local historians note that no known animal, prehistoric or modern, has a biological means to emit a focused beam of light the way multiple Van Meter witnesses independently described. This wasn't reflected light like off the moonlight or like an owl in a flashlight beam with its eyes. Witnesses insisted it was self-generated illumination, bright enough to cast shadows and blind onlookers in the dark. And then the appearance of a second creature only deepened the mystery. Witnesses said the smaller companion didn't just follow, it moved with the same disconcerting grace, the same bat-like wings, and the same flickers of strange light, though less intense. The men fired upon both, yet the creatures were unharmed, retreating into the coal mine as if it were a lair. Some eyewitnesses later said that after the creatures vanished underground, the mine emitted strange noises, deep guttural and unlike anything heard above ground. In a gesture driven by fear and frustration, townsmen even sealed the mine entrance shortly after, hoping to trap whatever lay inside. and then after that, the sightings abruptly stopped. What makes the Van Meter visitor compelling is also who reported it. These weren't isolated reports from frightened children or rumor mill gossip. Multiple respected adult witnesses, businessmen, teachers, doctors, described the same creature over several nights. Skeptics often point to misidentified owls, bats, or optical illusions of light, but no single explanation accounts for the combination of humanoid shape, light emitting horn, stench, repeated appearances, and group sightings. Some modern theorists have even proposed interdimensional or non biological entities, pointing to the light and behaviors evidence that whatever the visitor was, it did not conform to Earth's natural fauna. If it were an interdimensional being, the best explanation is a form of pterosaur from an Earth where they never went extinct. After that October of 1903, the Van Meter visitor vanished for over 100 years. In recent decades, residents and paranormal investigators have claimed lights near the old mine, strange winged shadows at dusk, and unexplained noises that echo the stories of old. And in 2020, there was reportedly a winged humanoid sighting in Van Meter, but I can't find any confirmation or facts in that report. Today, Van Meter embraces the mystery. There's an annual Van Meter Visitor Festival honoring the bizarre event that gripped the town a century ago, complete with reenactments, talks, and memorials to eyewitnesses. Whether it was an unknown species, a misidentified phenomenon, or a supernatural visitor, or something else entirely, the Van Meter Visitor stands as one of America's strangest cryptid encounters, a moment when an entire community swore they saw something no one yet understands.